So, welcome to Promote Profit Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark, and I'm super excited about my guest today because she was actually my mastermind facilitator, and she's a really bomb business coach. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy her because of what's going on with the economy. Everybody needs to be changing a little bit. It's a little bit harder to do things than it was in the past. So I want to remind you guys that we have the AI class, AI for Authors, coming up again in June. The people who were just in it were completely blown away. They couldn't, but we created courses, quizzes, keywords. Amanda, you were there. What else did we created all sorts of stuff in minutes. Like right on the calls when people did their one-on-ones, they brought their problems, and we sent a lot of people away really, really happy. So I'm very excited about that. So if you want to sign up for it, it's AIauthoracademy.com, and we will be starting again the beginning of June on June 4th. So it'll be June 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th for the group sessions. And then you get a one-on-one every week as well. So you can bring your own stuff. And we just completely work on whatever you need or you have problems with. So again, AIauthoracademy.com. And don't forget to go over to get your copy of Breakthrough Author Magazine, www.breakthroughauthormagazine.com. And today's guest is actually one of our contributors here. Jackie Nagel is the founder of Synnovatia. I can never say that. Oh my gosh, you need an easier name.
I know, after 25 years, right?
A strategic business coaching and consultancy firm. She's known for her unwavering commitment to supporting small business and her deep interest in science-based performance strategies. Jackie's approach includes providing personalized strategic coaching tailored to the individual needs of her clients, both on a personal and professional level. Her clients greatly appreciate her keen insights into what it takes to succeed in a constantly changing and increasingly demanding business environment. For more information about Jackie and her services, you can go visit her at Synnovatia.com, and I will put that in the show notes for everybody as well. This is what impressed me the most about Jackie's group. I've never been part of a mastermind before where they brought in economists. Like everybody in the group was sort of worried about where the economy is going. So what better advice from actual economists instead of me digging through those jobs reports by myself and not liking what I see. So, Jackie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for that generous introduction. Do you know when Juliette introduces you, you go, who is she talking about? I just want you to follow me around all day long. I'm so grateful that you're here and on a Friday morning, early on a Friday morning, and taking time out of your busy schedule to talk about some of the things that might be going on in your business. If you feel like I'm going to share my screen here with you. There you go. If you feel as though, let me just get everything moved around. You know how when you do it and then everything moves on your desktop? There. But if you feel that your growth may have stalled or it has slowed, you're definitely at the right place, because today we're going to talk about some of the little unknown causes of a business plateau. And we'll also talk about what you can do to break through to the next level. The information that I want to share with you today actually comes out of 25 years of working with small business owners. And it's things that I've noticed. I have the privilege I shouldn't say had, but I have the privilege of being at a front row seat for all these businesses. So we've seen everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. But more importantly, what I've seen is patterns that emerge, that why business starts to slow, what causes the sticking point, and also what is most effective for breaking through some of those some of that information or some of those plateaus as well, because I think that's really important when we begin to think about small businesses, because oftentimes the information that we see online or read in a book is designed for a corporation, and it's not very applicable to what our situation is. But because of the size of our group, I really feel like if you want to, I'm going to move this one thing, just speak up, ask a question, raise your hand, just jump in. That really works well for me. Okay, so we can have a real good conversation about it. We're going to be talking about the stages of business growth, some of the common sticking points that cause a business to stall. And then, like I said, I'll outline some of the solutions that my clients have found, that we have found in working with some of the challenges that come up. So these are the 5 primary stages of business growth. You see on the left, the startup, which generally is relatively smooth. You get to the core business development, which is stage 2. You go into the messy middle, which that's when things get really interesting. And that's generally the area where I work now with most of my clients. From there, from the messy middle, we move into expansion and then professionally managed until you organization until you exit. And today, what I would like to do is focus mostly on the startup, the core business development, and the messy middle, because I would assume that that's where the majority of you are in your business. So the startup, we've all been there. Obviously, you're all established businesses, but I'm sure if you reflect back, you remember the startup and how exciting it was, right? I mean, slay the dragons. That's what I remember about being a startup. I just thought anything and everything was possible. And it has all the excitement of a new baby when it's your first, right? And then after that, well, we know what happens in baby 2. But at stage 1, this is where we really work at proving our business model, and our primary focus is on marketing. So, like I said, it's proving your business model and primarily focused on marketing and getting your marketing dialed in, getting your sales funnel set up, getting your marketing funnel set up, and getting everything really rolling. And although it's really an exciting time, it's not without its growth pains. And I'm sure you remember that, we're so excited. Sometimes we're not very realistic in terms of expectations that we have of the market, of ourselves. So that sometimes self-esteem takes a hit. I work primarily in the professional service sector. So most of my clients are like, they're the accountant who wants to start a business. They are the attorney who's in business. They are the ad specialist who's in business, or the web design. So they're masters of their craft. So the idea of even knowing about business and understanding that there's needs to be some kind of planning process in place is generally missing. So planning becomes really ad hoc. And probably the biggest thing that I find is that, at least for me and my clients, this may not be for you, but there's this incredible desire to be everything to everybody. So subsequently, we end up taking on clients that aren't a good fit for us. We under-earn, we're underpricing, and cash flow really takes a hit, which makes it really difficult to grow. But the good news is we've got a lot of grit. So that causes us to move into stage 2, which is really about, this particular stage is about developing your capacity and your systems, although most business owners in stage 2 may not realize that. So it's something that systems get overloaded pretty quickly in this stage because of the fact that you're growing your network, you're acquiring clients, you are dialing in your pricing, you're developing your reputation. So, like I said, systems get overloaded pretty quickly. Sometimes you start bringing in talent at this point. Most people just get really overwhelmed, and talent is really not on their mind because of some of the cash flow issues, which brings us to stage 3, which is the messy middle. This is where the wheels come off the bus. It's chaotic, it's overwhelming, cash gets tighter and tighter, and talent becomes finding the right talent becomes a real challenge. The good news about this stage is that the experimentation has paid off. Most of the people within this stage of business, and this has actually more to do with revenue than it does with time in business, because I have found I've worked with people who have been in business for 10 and 15 years that are not yet at this stage. But to get to this stage, you've proven your business model and you've really got your target audience dialed in. And so these are some of the common sticking points that we run into. usually 150, when you hit these levels of revenue, 150 to 200,000, this is usually stage 2 core business development, where growth may start to slow. 350 to 500,000 is usually right in the messy middle, where again, business starts to slow or growth starts to slow because of the many challenges that come with the systems getting overloaded. And you'd think it would stop there, right? But unfortunately, we usually see another sticking point somewhere in between 750 to 1 million, then again, 3 to 4 million. So that might give you some hope if you're in that revenue and you're like, oh, so this is expected. It's common. So, and the other thing that we find, there are some commonalities for all the business owners. It doesn't matter whether you're at 150 or 3 million and stuck, because as a business owner, this is what you're going to start to experience if you haven't already. Major burnout really starts to kick in. You are working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. My dad would say you've come to the end of your sleep, right? And you are way beyond your And although you might worry less about survival because there is some cash flow, you're still overwhelmed. The days are really chaotic. You go from fire to fire, and you only to wake up and do it all again the next day. And unfortunately, this way of working is unsustainable. And it needs to be unsustainable, by the way. I mean, I've been there. My clients have been there. You probably have all been there or are there. And it is just really grueling to think about how this is at the stage 2, I have to tell you, where you start to say, I wonder if Safeway is hiring donut hole fryers, or I wonder if Starbucks needs some baristas. It's like just about anything is better at this point. So if you're having those thoughts, don't feel bad as a business owner. We've all been there. But this is also where the business owner themselves begins to bottleneck their own growth because of the overwhelm. There's just little to no time. And so this brings us to what got you here won't get you there. And what we've discovered is that the skills and the knowledge and the ability and the beliefs that you have that got you to the level that you're at in your business are no longer applicable to take you to the next level. Think about your computer. And we've all been, well, you can tell by my hair color, but been around longer than the rest of you. But think about running Windows 95 or DOS 0.0 on your computer and how slow things would be. But yet we always upgrade our computers. We need to do the same thing to a lot of our systems and our skill set in order to get to that next level. So I wanted to, any questions so far? Take a little break in here. Any experiences you want to share that you go, oh yeah, I thought of being a gardener, except on the days it rains, right? I mean,
I had an experience.
Yes.
I was in the process we were just about to launch, and my business partner just sent me a breakup text and said, I'm not going to do this anymore, and quit. She's the one who handled all the systems. So it's like, okay, what do I do now? So
oh, wow.
That was fun.
Was there any red flags or warning signs or anything that happened before?
Yes.
Looking back, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Looking back, yes, but at the time, yeah. So it's okay. It made me regroup and refocus. So
oh yeah, that's always fun.
I had one too. I briefly, a long time ago, kind of gave up and I went and got a job accounting. And it was kind of funny because it was out of a woman's home. It was supposed to be a 3-month job. I finished all the work in 1 week. And I literally, it was in her house. I went to the bathroom. I saw the garbage can full of Snickers wrappers. And I came out and I said, oh, somebody had a good time last night. And she left me a note on the door the next day, firing me and telling me to mind my own business.
Oh God, I love that.
And I was, you know what? I was so efficient because I'd owned my own business that I finished all the work right away.
Right. Well, and that's to your point, when you've been in business for a while, that's where pricing also is really huge, because you can do things much more quickly and you end up actually making less money if you don't increase your rates to coincide with your skill set. Because I mean, we've all been in business long enough to know we can do things like this. We see things we're because we've honed our skills. And so our pricing should really reflect that as well, which is really about strategy. All right, moving on. Thank you for sharing. I want to share with you the 6 areas that we have seen that contribute to a sticking point. They don't all happen all at once. And this is not in any sequence, but these are the big rocks to take a look at. Okay. And so I want to cover each one of those and then also give you some suggestions. I don't recommend you do it all, but whatever bubbles to the top for you, you may think, okay, this is, use your intuition. You got women on this call, which is lovely. Use your intuition and leverage that for where to start. But the first area is really our own mindset and skill set. And when business starts to go sideways, what I have found many times is the entrepreneur starts to double down. Well, I'm just not working hard enough, or I'm just not working smart enough. So they actually drill down, work harder in a lot of different ways. And although that's an option, it's unsustainable and it won't really move the dial in the long term aspect of the business. So some of the other recommendations that I have is to challenge yourself to hang out with business owners who are at that next level. They think different, they talk different, they focus on different things, their mindset. I mean, it's just a different kind of air that they breathe. And it really is a good challenge to hang out with those people. And I have to tell you a quick story. Before I started Synnovatia, I was in sales. And I went to this one conference and there was a woman there who had a really thick Texan drawl. And she talked about the people we hang out with and how we're the sum of the people that we hang out with. And so she challenged us to make a list of the people that we hang out with and put a positive sign next to the people that we feel better about ourselves when we're with them, the minus signs when we feel worse about ourselves when we hang out with them, and the equal signs. And then she said at the end, what in the Sam hell are you doing hanging out with the minuses and the equals? And that has always stuck with me because I think that really is pertinent to us as business owners as well. So Juliet referred to the mastermind group. Find a mastermind group that is a stage above you. Now, the mastermind group that I run, everybody's at pretty much the same level or within this sphere. So it works out really well because of the conversations and what people are experiencing. They're having the common challenges. Challenge yourself to read more non-traditional business books, to challenge the status quo, because now, again, I don't know if this is pertinent to you, but I know for myself and some of my clients, we really look to the quote unquote experts, right, that are in the industry to guide us and that we get our information from. And what I find is that, first of all, they're really speaking to corporations. And so there's very little that pertains to us that is applicable. We try to apply it, but it just doesn't work. The other thing is there are some best practices that are touted in the industry that really don't work. They may have worked in the 90s or even in early 2000, but where we're at today in the last 5 years in business is completely different. The rules of the game has changed. And so, watch the year that the book was published. That's what I always say, because that will give you some real insight. And then the other thing to help remold your mindset is to learn everything that you can about strategy, because that is going to take you really where you want to go. It's lovely to learn about bookkeeping. And, I remember my early days learning everything I can about marketing. And now I look at that and I think, Jesus, I wish I would have had somebody to tell me, don't do that. Don't spend your time doing that. Hire people who are more qualified, who can get the job done much more quickly. Your job as the CEO of your company as you grow is to really provide oversight, to do strategy, and to make sure that that strategy gets executed on. So learn what you can about strategy. The next, any questions about mindset or skill set? So the next one is talent. You know, doesn't that look like your staff, right? Or your subcontractors if you don't have staff. But the one thing that we found is that many times, again, if you're stage 2, stage 3, you may have brought on some talent where there's subcontractors or staff members. And unfortunately, some stagnation occurs within the talent pool because, again, it has to do a lot with our own lack of experience. We have a tendency, and maybe cash flow and worry about sustainability. We have a tendency to hire really inexpensive talent, which is usually people that are unqualified, not really qualified. They may be a little qualified. But they don't grow with the company. And and oftentimes what happens as well is we're so used to being the Lone Ranger and doing everything ourselves, right? That it becomes really difficult to delegate to other people and to trust that they're going to do the job. It's pretty doggone scary when you think about delegating and turning everything over and then crossing your fingers and hope to God they do it the way that you would want to have them do it. However, there is a way to delegate. There's a process that you can go through to delegate to make sure that things do get done the way that you would want to have them done, to make sure that your talent is properly utilized. The other thing too, that a couple of other recommendations when we get to the talent part, because again, there's a capacity issue. There's only so much that you yourself can do. And then until you bring on additional capacity in the area of talent, it's going to be really hard to move to that next level. So regardless how much you optimize the system or automate the system. So when you're hiring talent, consider hiring talent that's going to move the needle with revenue. Again, because they begin to pay for themselves. It's common to want to hire a virtual assistant or an executive assistant to take, the mundane tasks off our plate. But again, the administrative assistant actually ends up being more on the liability side of the balance sheet rather than the asset side. They become more of a cost rather than a benefit. Unless you as the owner really take a look at how many hours am I being freed up and what do I plan to do with those hours to generate revenue? That's really the only way that works. The other recommendation that I would have for you is to say, don't pinch pennies on talent. Again, I know it's really hard when cash is tight, right? But, or we're concerned about what cash is going to look like next quarter. But one of the things that we've all found, and I've got like story after story after story of people who have brought in, again, inexpensive talent, trying to look for the best that we can get for what we think we can afford. And it actually ended up costing them more money in the long run. The other thing that I suggest is don't bring on people to train them up. Again, she's not really qualified or he's not really qualified, but I can train them up. Again, that doesn't pencil when you start looking at your time, their time, and the opportunity cost, because you're away from actually generating revenue or revenue generating activities that it's too costly. So in order to kind of manage the cash issue and your concerns and get really good talent, we found a couple of things that work really well. Consider a hybrid, like bring somebody on as a subcontractor for a couple of months for them to be able to prove their ability and ensure that they're a good fit before you bring them on. And then you can decide is this something that I really want to do and really want to commit to and bringing them on as an employee? Give them a test project before you even bring them on as a subcontractor. That's worked extremely well. Have any of you had a situation where somebody interviewed so well and you brought them on and didn't take you long before you realized that they oversold their abilities and their skills? Yes, that's happened to me. I interviewed somebody several times. My HR consultant interviewed somebody and I figured, hey, if I miss it, she's going to pick it up. And the woman came to work and it was like, what is this all about? And her skill set for where she was working was fabulous. But what I needed was much higher and she was not equipped for that. Now, had I known about doing test projects back then, I could have given her a project to do that was at the level that I needed for her to perform on day one, paid her for the project, and I would have been able to ascertain after that one project whether or not she was a good fit. So those are a couple things that we've done with some of our clients that has worked extremely well in helping them move to the next level. Okay. Next thing, rethink your strategy, because the strategy that you started with to start your business was great, probably got you where you're at, but then it gets to a point where it's no longer effective. And if you're going to, again, move up, you've got to reevaluate what is going to take you to that next level. So this really means reevaluating your audience and your offerings to determine which clients are most profitable and which services are most profitable. And while you're doing that, think about what kinds of projects are most fun for you to work with, because that's your X factor in terms of what makes you different from other people. And what you're going to find is strategy is really much more about choices. Strategy is really, it's not only about what is it going to take to move you quickly forward, but it's also about who am I going to say no to? What kind of work am I no longer going to accept? What kind of client do I need to pass on to a colleague that really works in that area? And I'll tell you, this is really a hard part. I think the hardest part for us as business owners, because for us, many times we are in business because we really want to help people. And for me, I work with all my clients, with the exception of one, are all in this messy middle. So sometimes when I get somebody who's in the core business development stage, I mean, it's really tempting, especially if it's really cool work or they're working on something really, or they themselves are really dynamic, but it just throws the balance off in my business and it really starts to slow me down. It's really been interesting to have to just go, oh God, no, just can't do that. And so that's really all about strategy. There's a really good resource I'd highly recommend if you want to learn about strategy. It's called Scaling Up, and it's by Vern Haddish, Haddish. He has a weekly email, which is really good. But he and his team have probably scrubbed all the best business books that are out there and put together, condensed all the high-level information that is out there. They've condensed it down to practical, common sense actions that are very applicable to the small business owner. He is one of the best authors that I've seen. So I recommend reading his book. Juliet.
Can I ask a question? So everybody on here is an internet, like all their businesses are primarily online. And there are so many people out there trying to sell us on scaling our business. And most of the time I see that they do that at a point that is like these people are nowhere near the point where they would scale their business. So how do you know when you're ready to do this?
Well, that's a really good question. There's a process. You can have your long-term strategy, like your 5-year strategy, like at the end of 5 years, let's say, is you set your intention, or the end of 3 years, you set your intention to begin the scaling process. Then what we do is we back up and we look at what has to be in place in order to scale. There's optimization, there are systems, there are talent, there's You have to look at capacity, developing strategic capacity. You have to look at what is your sales funnel? Do you have a proven sales funnel? Do you have a proven marketing funnel? One that operates and brings you, and by proven, I mean, is it bringing you consistently the kind of clients that you want at the price point that you want without you having to really do much with it? Can you rely on your staff and to do what needs to be done, right? Without holding their hands, without micromanaging them. What kind of a project management system do you have in place that makes it really easy to, like a lot of my clients use Asana because they work on big projects. So I really think that there's got to be a lot of pieces in place before you can really pull the trigger on scale. You can think about it. And then the other question I would ask is, why do you want to scale, right? Which is, most people want to scale, and scale is 10x, by the way. Scale is not doubling your business or tripling your business year over year. It's 10xing your business. So you've really got to look also at your product and services to see, can we 10x it? Because and what is that going to look like? Most people scale because they're looking to sell, is what I find. But that would be the other question, is why do you want to scale? But yeah, that's really interesting. Vern Haddish's book will give you the steps that you need to, put things in place. Does that help, Juliet?
Yes. Yeah, it does help because there's so much pressure. And I know I saw everybody here shaking their head about all these people out there trying to get us to scale a business that isn't at the point where it should be scaled. So thanks.
Yeah, I always love it too when I get emails like that, because I'm like, yeah, so why do you think I should scale my business? I always love to push back because I think, I'm going to hear what they've got to say, right? It's basically kind of calling them on their stuff. It's the big thing. So this is the next step is part of scaling, right? Possibly. It's formulating your growth plan. And I had a woman in my mastermind group the other day. She goes, what I would, if I had a magic wand, I would love to have a month off so I could reconfigure my entire business, because she's not really changed anything since 2014. And, that's a lovely thought, but unless we win the lottery or something, that's pretty disruptive, right? To take a month off. However, you can do it in small little slices. I call them micro movements, where you use the cracks of time. Maybe it's a Friday afternoon for the next 12 weeks that you dedicate to developing your growth plan. It doesn't have to be developed all in one shot. And I don't even recommend it, because of the fact that being able to step back and have a couple of days, little bit of air around the development of the growth plan, helps you really think through, is this really what I want? Is this the way to get there? So I love the idea of these big Post-it notes that you could post all over your office, where you can write, a question on each one, and then just walk over and jot things down. So as you process the growth plan. So here are the questions you want to ask yourself for your growth plan. First of all, what is your exit strategy? When everything is said and done, what do you want to do? Do you just want to close the doors and call it a day and say that was fun? Do you want to sell the business? And if so, what are you targeting? Like, I've got one gentleman I'm working with, his goal is to sell his business for $6 million. So we know what we have to do in his business in order to get it to make the valuation to where he can walk away with $6 million. I have another woman who is wanting to sell her business for, I think it's $1.5 million. So we know, again, what we need to do for that. But it's thinking about what your exit strategy is now, because then you can put yourself on the trajectory to that point, rather than, it's kind of like they talk about it in an airplane, 3%, if you're 3% off your target, you could end up completely in a completely different location. And it's the same thing here. Put yourself on the right trajectory today, rather than waiting until 5 years before you decide you want to exit. And maybe your exit strategy isn't about selling. Maybe it's really about, hey, listen, I just want to fund my retirement. Okay, that's an exit strategy. How much money do you want to fund? What does the business need to do? And then the second question is then what is the intended revenue? Like the woman who is selling her business, wants to sell her business for $1.5 million. We've got a 5-year plan in place. Loosely, we know that her revenue has to be because of and these are just, we're guessing figures because it doesn't pay, it's not cost effective to have a business valuation done at this point. But we know that her revenue is going to have to be about 750 or $1 million in 5 years. That's okay. We know where we're going. Then we begin. The third question is asking yourself, what client is going to be the most profitable for your business? Which client is going to help you get there faster? And again, this is about strategy and eliminating those that may be struggling. It's hard, I know, because like, for instance, this client that wants to sell his business for $6 million, there's a certain kind of client, there's a certain level of client that is easy to work with. They've got the resources to do what needs to be done. They've got the people in place that need to do it, versus a smaller business that can't afford to be in it for the long haul. They don't have the resources to make changes. They don't have the people in place to make changes. And subsequently, they can't get the best results from the service that my client provides. So it's saying no to those clients and yes to the other clients. Again, look at what service you're going to be offering. Are you going to stay with the same services? What are we looking at? You might not be able to project what services are going to be needed 20 years from now, but you have a sense of looking at trends, following trends in your own industry, trends in the industries of your clients, if they're in different industries, being able to understand what they might be needing as we go through the next couple of years. By the way, for those of you who are online and have online businesses, think in terms of brand platforms. If your goal is to ultimately, let's say, sell your business because of, and by a brand platform, what we're talking about is like a start to finish kind of a situation where you don't just provide just a piece in the middle, but you take a client from all the way through whatever that they might need. That creates stickiness for the client and therefore makes your business more valuable to buyers or investors because the client base is there for the long haul. What talent is required? Again, when you know what the big picture is, what are you going to need? Who are you going to need? Are you going to need resume coaches? Are you going to need account managers? Are you going to need other coaches to assist with delivering your services? Think about that again in the long run, and then what costs are involved. Now, that's big picture stuff, but you can easily back it all down. Let's say that's 10 years out, 15 years out. It's easy. You just need the big framework and then back it down into where do I need to be by the end of this year to make sure that I'm on track. And then just focus on this quarter. What goals and objectives do I need to track and target for this quarter? And that's about, you're not going to be able to do everything at once. It's about prioritizing and really looking at high value, high impact tasks. When you look at your goals for the year and what needs to happen, and then you look at again, ask yourself, what is high value, high impact? What's going to have the greatest impact? Where am I going to spend my time? Questions? It's a lot of information, isn't it? Sorry, I have a lot in my head after 25 years. And then that leads to kickstarting the execution. And again, breaking it down into quarters makes it much, much easier. If you are, wait, let me back up. One of the things that we've noticed also, we've discovered is that there's a gap between strategy and execution, right? So we've got the plan, we've got the strategy, it's all lovely, but then we don't pull the trigger on it. We get distracted, we're putting out fires, whatever it might be. And so accountability really bridges that gap. Whether you hold yourself accountable, tell yourself that you can, I don't know, give yourself $100 to go shopping or something at the end of every week that you achieve your objectives for the week, or if you need an accountability partner or a coach that acts, obviously you guys are coaches, so it's kind of interesting because coaches are not supposed to be like really hold your feet to the fire, right? We all need to be adults, yada, yada, yada. But sometimes we need somebody we know is going to say to us, did you accomplish your goals or what you had intended, your intentions for this week? If not, why not? What got in the way and what are you going to do about it next week? And they just hold us to that standard. So accountability is really important. And then the final one is in leveraging your cash, because not much happens without it. And the larger your organization becomes, the more critical that money is going to become. Get yourself a good bookkeeper and an accountant who can help you understand your financial statements and project your cash flow, unless you're Juliet and have all of these skills, although that's not the best use of your time either, Juliet. I have to say, as the CEO, you shouldn't be doing your bookkeeping and your accounting. I don't care if it is QuickBooks and easy. Again, pay people to do that for you. Now, I want to share also a story with you that one of my clients did that really broke her through regarding cash. Sometimes it can be a little bit unnerving to consider funding, like getting a loan, right, to help you through the hump. She was stuck. This client was stuck, but I'm going to tell you how she did this and how I recommend it. She was stuck at the same level for, I swear, 5 or 6 years. She was just literally, I was really worried about her health, that because of the number of hours that she was working. And we plugged every possible hole that we could. We optimized everywhere that we could. And the only solution was really to bring on a project manager, and which she did not have the cash for, right? And so we developed this plan. We looked at what would it cost. And then we also looked, including the cost of the loan and all of that, and how long that is going to be, over what period of time. And then what is the business going to do to repay that loan? And that was such a stress reliever for her, knowing that it wasn't just you get an infusion of cash, you bring on the new person, and you keep doing what you're doing. That puts you into debt. But if you really take a look and figure out what needs to change in your business in order to pay that, it could be, again, do I cut out an expense that I think is unnecessary? Do I raise my rates? But whatever, have a plan in place might help you also to feel much more comfortable about getting that funding. And I swear to you, it was groundbreaking. Her business just exploded. And what she has done, she has gone back. Her business is very heavy on talent, not technology. And so she has gone back and repeated this time and time again, every time she gets stuck, to go to the next level. All right. So where do you go from here? Take a deep breath, right? First of all, I want you to know that you're not alone if you're feeling and experiencing any of these, because it's a predictable and unavoidable part of growing your business. And don't panic, and just embrace it, because it's also very survivable, especially when you start, like, now you know the underlying causes and you can understand what's going on, and you can make then the best decision for your business. And again, a word of caution: don't work harder, because you're just going to dig yourself a bigger hole. When you find yourself saying, well, maybe I just need to work harder, just think, no, don't do that. Because it's just not really what is going to make the difference. But from today, whatever bubbled to the surface, trust your gut intuition to follow that one and take one action. Make sure it's high impact and high value, because the truth is you cannot disrupt you can disrupt your business if you want to, but most of us do not have any capacity for disruption. So working in micro movements and making changes over the long run will really pay off. Okay. My mom, when I was a little girl, I must have talked a lot because my mom would say to me, you know, God gives you so many words to use. And then when you use them all up, you die. Any questions or comments or thoughts, anything at all? I'm going to turn it over to you.
Wow, harsh mom.
German, Russian, Jewish, Catholic. What can you expect? I must have been a yapper.
Do you guys have any questions? No, all good.
My crowd.
I just, go ahead,
Amanda?
Christy.
Go ahead. No, Amanda, I was just.
It just, for me, it just resonates with me, and my business is currently at very small scale. And after working with those networking groups who were closer to where I wanted to be and all of those tips, but for me, it brings home that your free and reduced cost services are like a free puppy.
Your what? Say that again, Amanda.
So when you enlist service providers who are free or reduced, or it's your friend for a 6-pack, it's like a free puppy.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
And
it's all free and it's snuggly and it feels good, and then you've got vet bills and ruined furniture and a 12-year commitment to a lot of expense.
yes, God, that's such a great analogy. It's so natural to want to do that, isn't it? And it just, oh God, yeah, it's sad.
Anybody else? Well, Jackie, thank you. That was a ton of information, but good information, because we're coming up on 6 months. We're in the 5th month. The year's almost halfway over. And what's funny is everybody that didn't come today were the exact people who keep telling me over and over they don't have the cash flow. So it's kind of funny that you guys are all here, you're learning, and the people who needed it the most aren't really here.
Why I lost my camera. I don't know why. Sorry.
That's okay. We can still see your contact information. So next month's training is the lovely Carrie Cassell. And yes, she's a life coach, a dietitian. But the one thing that happens to entrepreneurs when they start working at home is we eat all day and not necessarily good stuff. So Carrie has some wisdom about all of that next month. And that is on June 7th. So she's going to share some tips with us. And also, if you haven't signed up for that AI Author Academy, get signed up. I mean, we saw miracles, especially Dorothy's not on the call today, but oh my gosh, we created courses, we created a quiz, we created so much stuff for her in minutes. And she was stunned because she's been thinking about this stuff for a year, and to watch it just happen right in front of her eyes, she was pretty blown away. So
the classes, how you just attended it, the classes are like a fire hose, but so just take notes. Don't even try to understand it. Just take notes and listen and let it soak in, because then Juliet is giving you your one-on-one session where you can say, okay, I liked this nugget. Now make it make sense and make it make amazing stuff. So I blasted out all kinds of things. I did a quiz as a lead magnet with all the emails and tact and all of those things, using those AI tools that I had not done before. So, and I use a lot of AI for me. I think I use an incredible amount of AI. But
yeah, well, thank you for that. Can you put it in there? Yeah, we did a lot of stuff. We had a lot of YouTube stuff we did. A guy with a live show has completely transformed the way he's marketing now with everything we use. So there are a lot of things we can do, and that's prep for his book, because he's got to get his platform built to get his book out there. So Jackie, thank you so much. And you guys, I want you to know something.
Juliet, I don't have the link to your course. So
it's AIAuthorAcademy.com.
Okay, thank you.
And you guys, I've actually been a part of Jackie's mastermind. I didn't re-up this quarter. I've got too much going on to do it. Plus,
you wanted to play golf. Don't kid yourself.
I was just gonna say, y'all know I have that golf problem in the sun shining. Like, at least I'm addicted to something good.
Yeah. Right.
But it was super helpful. And here's the big nugget. It is reasonably priced for what it is. If you look at the masterminds out there, they are outrageous right now because people are scaling and raising their prices. But Jackie's is quarter to quarter and very, very reasonably priced. Under $1,000. I'll put it that way. She can tell you all.
So, and if any of you have any questions about anything we covered today, feel free to reach out. I'm always available, happy to chat with you about your business because it's just really hard to find information that is just practical and applicable to where we're at. So
Yeah. And I got a lot of value out of it. I made some friends. I nagged one girl to the point where she probably won't speak to me anymore. I probably should reach out to her. I'm just kidding. The marketing girl who hadn't built her site.
oh yeah, right.
So to me, accountability means I get to use my superpower, which is nagging. All right, you guys, thank you. And we'll see you next
Thanks,
time.
everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you. Have a great day, great weekend.